The top team in the league strolled into Brooklyn tonight. We sent them home with the Nell. Let's talk about what all of that means, New York City. New York City's, I love the Brooklyn Nets. Today on Twitter, there was this great article, talking about sports as a part of civic pride. And it just reminded me of that time. There was a photo where they showed these mock-up Brooklyn jerseys that said Brooklyn on the front of them. And at the time, this was, I guess, about 2007, 2008. And the picture was of Jay-Z and Bloomberg. And I said to myself, wow, I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. It's been very painful. But the Nets ride didn't look very good at that moment. But I looked at Jay-Z holding these red, white, and blue jerseys, mock-up jerseys, with former Mayor Bloomberg. And I said, how could I ever go against something with Brooklyn on the chest? That being said, today I saw another team stroll into our building. They looked like they'd been watching tape. They didn't seem very worried. And at the end of the day, we sent them home losers. I want to talk to my friend and partner and co-host about this win in a different way than most people think. Sam, I watched this game tonight, and I said they were going to win by 10, and they should have. But I watched this game tonight, and I just can't help but wonder to myself, is this going to work in the playoffs? But for tonight, I'm going to pocket that, Sam. I'm going to ask that you fight any of the pangs of visions of championship. We took the best team in the league to task, and we won. Should I be happy?
I see no reason why you shouldn't be happy, to be honest. I think they totally stepped up to the plate. I honestly think that the Clippers in a lot of ways played better, looked sharper. The Nets got an unbelievable performance out of Kyrie. I think they
magnificent.
Honestly, just out of this world. One of his best, if not his best game as a Net. I know he had the 50-point game, but I just thought it was a really, really special performance. I thought he was really good on D. And look, like this team, as we've been saying, and we do a podcast, right? And we do a podcast like multiple times a week. So we want to give the listeners something new and something fresh. But the one line that I want to keep saying is like, this team is not a finished product yet. Like they have roster spots. It seems like this could be a big buyout market. You've been saying a lot, and I agree with you that some of these cheaper owners are just not going to want to pay certain guys, and I think there are some other guys that are going to just want to get on contenders and play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some ring chasing. And so, look, all you can say is they keep on playing well against the best teams in the league, and I think that's all you can really ask for. Like, it's not like they're beating up on crappy teams and then succumbing to the pressure against good teams. Like, they're honestly doing the opposite, and I would take the opposite like 10 times out of 10. So, I mean, what are your concerns right now? Because I'm okay for you to get a little pessimistic and cautious moving forward.
No, look, I saw a team tonight that the main components of the team basically have always had other guys do that stuff. Now, what is that stuff? Grabbing loose balls, playing with 4 fouls and playing, crazy defense on some, lead scorer or all-star. These guys have never been on a team like the Nets. And I feel like I say this over and over again. And it worries me. It worries me because I've seen this before. The Phoenix Suns looked unbeatable at their peak. Steve Nash was the league's MVP. I don't know if he deserved it. I think the Shaq should have won one year. He won it. And I think Jason Kidd should have won it the other year that he won it. But that's neither here nor there. That team was stacked. Amari Stoudemire was giving Tim Duncan 50-point, 20-rebound games. Like this, these teams were ridiculous. That ran this similar system, played similar to what we did, and they never really got out of they could never get out of the West. A more balanced, a more multi-dimensional team would always show up in the playoffs and figure them out. Same thing with the Rockets. The Rockets have had some incredible teams. And on the Rockets, James Harden has had guys like Capella and PJ Tucker and Richard Covington. Like, these guys are stellar defenders, and we have nothing like that. And I watched the team kind of just, do what happens in the regular season. And I don't, again, it worries me. It's on my heart. It's on my chest. But what we did see tonight is that the Nets can come at you in waves. It took them a long time to take this game over and grab the lead. The Clippers jumped out to a 12-point lead in this game in the first quarter. And it took the Nets, they had to whittle them down because they just couldn't stop them from scoring. Now, the Clippers did a much better job controlling the pace. But the defense, man, I think, guys scored at will on the Nets tonight. And it just became a battle of attrition in the sense of the Nets kept scoring. Am I missing something? Didn't it just seem like, whose turnstile would stop first at the end there?
No, I mean, look, I think there's definitely something. I think there's obviously something to what you're saying. I mean, I don't think they had an amazing defensive performance. I definitely think they stepped up, and I think they did smart. I think they made smart moves when it mattered on the defensive end. But I mean, look, this league is a make or miss league. That's just what it is. And look, part of the makes and misses come from the guys who are guarding them, but there is something to this team that's just unbelievably devastating in the sense that with the Clippers, let's say, right? You had a good tweet that I liked about PG not being that guy.
2 points per game.
Yeah, he's not that guy.
And
he was trying to act like he was.
And the truth is, that what makes the Nets so special is not that they have 3 stars, because teams have had 3 stars. It's not just that they have 3 guys who wanted to come together and play together. What makes them special offensively is that they have 3 guys each who, if there were two of them instead of 3, you would try to double team, and to the point that the Nets just have running mismatches constantly. And these guys are just professional scorers. And it got to the point where I was just honestly, Kawhi was unbelievable tonight. He was just, I mean, he's
He's Kawhi.
He's the 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever you want to say in the league. He's just next level.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it got to a point, I don't know if you felt this way, where I was just like, honestly, like, just get the ball out of his hands and I'm going to feel okay. Because I know that Batum and Marcus Morris aren't going to make every three. Like, but Kawhi can go 10 for 12 because he's a psycho.
You just look at him. He just look like there's something off about him. Like he's a basketball psychopath.
Yeah, and so and whereas like with the Nets, it's just like it's like, oh, what? Like you're gonna take it out of KD's hands and then try to force it into Harden's hand or try to force it into Kyrie's hand. And look, I get it. There's one basketball. Like I'm with it. I understand that, but I just think it's devastating to try to stop. And look, I think we saw. I just want to, I guess, to circle back. I think we also saw exactly what kind of I've been hoping for and wondering, which is that when the three guys, the three stars, needed to step up on D in different ways, they can. Like Kyrie has proven, I think the analytics show this, I'd have to go back, that Kyrie's actually like a decent playoff defender. He's not great in the regular season. He's bad. And like Harden has proved like he can defend in the regular season. The one thing I will say, and we'll get into this in a little bit if we want, I actually thought Kevin was like horrendous today. I thought this was like his worst game by leaps and bounds as a net, even though he shot unbelievably efficiently.
Yeah, and you know, I with Kevin playing that way, these stats that I'm about to rattle off to you is going to seem kind of scary in the sense of they did this with Kevin not playing that well. For Kevin, right? You know what I mean. He played very well for TLC, but for Kevin, he didn't play very well. So check this out. Close game, 124-120, right? Nets out rebounded them, right? And I'm gonna add a cherry on top on the end of these stats, but wait for that. 44 rebounds to 39. 25 assists to 21, with like very, very close, right? Like from the score, which is the most important thing, of course, to the rebounds, to the assists. The Clippers had 12 steals, right? So the turnover margin is kind of ugly. Nets had 6 steals. I thought the Nets got in the lanes. I think they muddied up the game. If James Harden is anything, he's a shithouse, and he's like a boulder. Like he must weigh 260, right? Because he's muscle and fat. He's got some muscle underneath that fat, and he just in his legs. It's like don't look at to understand what James Harden is physically. You have to look at from his torso to his feet, because even his calves looks like most people's thighs. That like he just has tree trunks for legs, and he's impossible to move. But he's still little. He's like 6'3", 6'4" in reality, and if it wasn't for the fact that he was so stout, he wouldn't be the Nets' best power forward. And anyway, I digress. The Nets shot freakishly well, 57% to 45%. And again, KD didn't play well. And then, from the three-point line, they kind of matched each other, 41.9 to 41.7. And at the free throw line, 88 to 80, it's close. But the Nets were the better team across the board, eking them by a little bit. And the only place that they really hurt themselves was the turnovers, and even that, it's like by the time the playoffs come around, the chemistry is going to be better.
Yep.
And even though teams are going to key in on what you do in the playoffs, Kevin Durant's not going to have a game like this in the playoffs. Maybe if they're up 3-0 and James Harden takes him to a strip club. He's not going to have a game like the one that he had tonight. And, yes, they had a 12-point lead, but the Nets were up by 10 at some point, a couple of points. And